Barack Obama's story begins in Hawaii, a place surrounded by beautiful beaches and vibrant cultures. Born on August 4, 1961, Barack was the son of a Kenyan father, Barack Obama Sr., and an American mother, Ann Dunham. His family was unlike most others in the United States at the time. His father was black, and his mother was white, which made him biracial, a mix of two worlds. Growing up, Barack learned early on that being different wasn't always easy. Some people treated him unfairly because of the color of his skin. Others asked him questions that made him feel out of place, like, "Where are you really from?" These experiences were confusing for a young boy trying to understand where he fit in the world. But instead of feeling bitter, Barack's childhood taught him to see the world differently. His grandparents, who helped raise him, played a big role in shaping his view of life. They taught him about kindness and compassion. They often told him stories about how everyone, no matter their background, deserved respect. Barack's mother, Ann, also inspired him deeply. She would wake him up early in the morning to teach him lessons about history, fairness, and what it means to stand up for what's right. One summer, Barack's father came to visit him in Hawaii. It was the only time they spent together, but it left a lasting impression. Barack saw his father as a proud and intelligent man who cared deeply about justice. That visit made Barack think about the values his father believed in and what it meant to be someone who fought for equality. In school, Barack wasn't always confident. He struggled at times, like many kids do, but he loved to read. Books became his escape and his teacher. Through them, he discovered stories of great leaders who faced challenges and overcame them. He read about Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi, people who inspired him to believe that one person could make a big difference. Despite the struggles, Barack's childhood wasn't all serious. He was a regular kid who enjoyed playing basketball and spending time with friends. Yet, deep down, he always felt a pull to do something greater. He didn't know what it was yet, but he knew that one day he wanted to help people who were treated unfairly, just like he had been. As Barack grew older, he began to realize that his mixed-race identity wasn't something to hide or feel ashamed of. It was his strength. It gave him the ability to understand different sides of the same story. He began to see himself as a bridge between cultures, someone who could bring people together. This was just the start of Barack's journey. From a young boy trying to find his place in the world to someone who dreamed of making it better, Barack's story was already being written. And even though he didn't know it yet, the lessons he learned as a child would prepare him for the challenges ahead. Barack Obama's journey to understanding who he was and what he stood for took a big step forward during his college years. After finishing high school in Hawaii, Barack moved to Los Angeles to attend Occidental College. This was his first time living far away from home, and it opened his eyes to new experiences and challenges. At Occidental, Barack started to notice how the world treated people differently based on their race, background, and social status. For the first time, he saw how deeply these issues affected not just individuals, but entire communities. He began to ask himself important questions. Why is the world this way? What can I do to change it? These questions became the foundation of his desire to create a fairer society. But Barack's time at Occidental wasn't just about big ideas. He was also trying to figure out who he was. He spent time reading books about history, philosophy, and leaders who fought for justice. Writers like James Baldwin and Ralph Ellison inspired him, helping him understand the struggles and triumphs of Black Americans. These stories gave him strength and hope. Even though Barack was passionate about learning, he wasn't perfect. He admitted later in life that he sometimes felt lost during those years. Like many young people, he made mistakes and didn't always know what direction to take. But those moments of doubt only made him stronger. They taught him the value of perseverance and self-reflection. After 2 years at Occidental, Barack decided to transfer to Columbia University in New York City. He believed that being in a bigger city would give him more opportunities to learn and grow. In New York, Barack lived a simple life. He didn't have much money, But he didn't let that stop him from chasing his dreams. He spent his time studying, writing, and thinking about how he could make a difference in the world. It was during his time in New York that Barack began to feel a deep connection to his identity as a black man in America. He thought about his father's Kenyan heritage and his mother's lessons about justice. He started to see his unique background as a gift, something that allowed him to connect with people from all walks of life. One day, while walking through the streets of Harlem, Barack saw a group of young boys playing basketball. The court was old, and the kids didn't have much, but they laughed and played as if nothing else mattered. Barack realized that these children deserved the same opportunities as anyone else. This moment, and others like it, fueled his determination to fight for equality and fairness. By the time Barack graduated from Columbia, he had a clear vision of what he wanted to do. He didn't have all the answers yet, but he knew one thing for sure. He wanted to help people who were left behind. This purpose would guide him in the years to come, as he began his journey to become a leader who inspired millions. After finishing college, Barack Obama knew that his journey to create change was just beginning. He decided to move to Chicago, a city known for its strong communities and rich history. Barack's mission was clear. He wanted to help people who were struggling with poverty, racism, and inequality. In Chicago, Barack began working as a community organizer. This was not an easy job. He worked in some of the poorest neighborhoods, where people faced daily challenges like unemployment, lack of education, and crime. Barack spent his days listening to people's stories, learning about their struggles, and finding ways to help them. He didn't come in with all the answers, but he came with a willingness to understand and work with people. During this time, Barack learned valuable lessons about leadership. He realized that real change didn't come from top-down decisions made by powerful people. Instead, change started with the people themselves. He helped organize meetings and protests, giving ordinary people the chance to raise their voices and fight for their rights. Despite the difficulty of his work, Barack was determined to make a difference. He spent countless hours knocking on doors, talking to families, and trying to inspire hope in communities that had lost it. Over time, people began to notice Barack's dedication and his ability to bring people together. They saw his passion for justice and his deep care for others. Barack didn't just want to be a leader. He wanted to be a servant to the people. As Barack worked in Chicago, he also began to think about his future. He knew that in order to make a bigger impact, he would need to learn more about the systems that held people back. This led him to apply to law school, where he could study how the law worked and how it could be used to create a fairer society. In 1988, Barack was accepted to Harvard Law School. At Harvard, Barack continued to shine. He was an excellent student, but what stood out the most was his ability to connect with others. Barack became the first black president of the prestigious Harvard Law Review, an honor that many thought was impossible for someone like him. This achievement not only showed his brilliance, but also his ability to break barriers. Barack's time in Chicago had already made him realize the power of working with communities to bring about change. Now, at Harvard, he began to see how he could use the law to do the same. He was determined to take what he learned and return to Chicago, where he could continue to fight for justice, equality, and fairness. Through his years in Chicago, Barack Obama built the foundation for the leader he would soon become. He learned about resilience, the importance of community, and the value of fighting for what's right. His experiences as a community organizer would shape his future work, and they made him even more determined to change the world. Barack Obama's journey took a big turn when he decided to enter politics. After finishing law school at Harvard, Barack returned to Chicago with a new goal: to make a real difference through public service. He knew that becoming a politician would give him the chance to create change on a larger scale. But getting into politics wasn't going to be easy. His first challenge came when he ran for Illinois State Senate in 1996. Many people didn't take him seriously. He was a relatively unknown candidate, young and black. There were many doubts about whether he could win in a state where politics had been controlled by powerful political families for years. But Barak didn't let that discourage him. He knew he had a message that would resonate with people who were tired of the same old politics and wanted someone who would listen and fight for them. Barak worked hard during his campaign. He traveled across the state, speaking to communities, meeting with people from all walks of life, and listening to their concerns. He focused on issues that mattered to regular people: affordable health care, education, and jobs. He promised to fight for those who had been forgotten by the system. Despite the obstacles, Barak won the election. His victory was a huge achievement. It proved that a young black man from Chicago could win a political seat by connecting with the people and standing up for what's right. It also proved that there was a desire for a new kind of leadership, one that focused on unity, fairness, and justice for all. Once in the state Senate, Barak quickly gained a reputation for being a thoughtful and passionate leader. He worked across party lines, trying to bring both Democrats and Republicans together to pass laws that would help the people of Illinois. He focused on issues like improving health care and reducing the number of people incarcerated. He didn't just want to make speeches, he wanted to make real change. But Barak's work in the state Senate was just the beginning. He began to realize that in order to make an even bigger impact, he needed to aim higher. Barak set his sights on the U.S. Senate. In 2004, he ran for the U.S. Senate seat in Illinois. And once again, he faced many doubts. His opponent, a well-known Republican candidate, was favored to win. But Barak's campaign was different. He didn't focus on attacking his opponent. Instead, he focused on his vision for a better future, a vision of hope, change, and unity. He reached out to people of all races, all backgrounds, and all political beliefs, urging them to come together for a common cause. Barak's message resonated with millions. In 2004, he won the election for U.S. Senate in a landslide victory, becoming one of the most inspiring and promising new voices in American politics. His success wasn't just about his personal achievements. It was a victory for the people who believed in his vision of a more equal and just world. Barack Obama's journey reached a turning point in 2004 when he delivered an unforgettable speech at the Democratic National Convention. Up until that moment, Barack had been gaining recognition as a rising star in American politics, but it was this speech that truly put him on the national stage. At the time, Barack was still a relatively unknown senator from Illinois. But when he stood before thousands of people at the convention, he delivered a speech that would inspire millions. His words were powerful, filled with hope and unity. He talked about the importance of coming together as one nation, no matter what our differences were. He spoke about the American dream, a dream where anyone, no matter their background or race, could succeed if they worked hard enough. The speech was more than just a political message. It was a vision of the future. Barack talked about overcoming the challenges of racism, inequality, and division that had long existed in America. He shared his belief that, as a nation, the United States could rise above its past and create a brighter, more inclusive future. Barack's speech became an instant sensation. People across the country were moved by his words. He became the face of a new generation of leaders who believed in hope, change, and unity. The speech was seen as groundbreaking, and it quickly gained Barack a following. He was no longer just a senator from Illinois. He was a symbol of possibility. After that speech, Barack's political career took off. He began to receive invitations to speak across the country, and his popularity grew. He was invited to appear on television shows and talk about his vision for the future. Barack's story resonated with many, especially young people who were looking for hope in a time of uncertainty. They saw in him a leader who not only understood the challenges they faced, but who was committed to making things better. However, as Barack's popularity grew, so did the skepticism from his critics. Many people doubted whether he could achieve the lofty goals he set for himself. Some questioned his ability to unite a divided nation, while others criticized him for being too idealistic. But Barack didn't let the doubts stop him. He knew that real change required hard work, dedication, and the willingness to face challenges head-on. In 2006, Barack began to think seriously about running for president. He had gained national attention, and many believed he was ready to take the next step. But running for president was no easy task. It meant taking on powerful opponents, facing endless scrutiny, and overcoming deep divisions in the country. But Barack was determined. He believed that the country was ready for a new kind of leadership, one that was focused on unity, equality, and hope. As he prepared for his presidential campaign, Barack knew that he had a long road ahead of him, but he was ready to take on the challenge. His vision for the future was clear: a nation where people of all races and backgrounds could come together and create a better, more just society. In 2007, Barack Obama made the bold decision to run for President of the United States. His announcement was a historic moment, as he became one of the first serious black candidates to run for the highest office in the country. But his decision wasn't just about breaking barriers. It was about creating change. Barack believed that America needed a leader who could unite the country and tackle the challenges that had divided it for so long. The campaign was difficult from the start. Many people doubted whether a relatively unknown senator from Illinois could take on the powerful political machine of the Clintons, who had been in politics for decades. Barack's opponents, including Hillary Clinton, had strong support, and they had the resources to run a fierce campaign. But Barack wasn't deterred. He didn't focus on his opponents or attack them. Instead, he focused on the message he believed in: hope, unity, and the power of the people. Barack's campaign quickly gained momentum. His speeches inspired millions, and he began to connect with people from all walks of life. He spoke about the need for a better healthcare system, the importance of ending the war in Iraq, and the need for a stronger economy. He also emphasized the need for political change, calling for an end to the divisiveness in Washington. Barack's message was clear: America needed to come together and work toward a brighter future. One of the things that made Barack's campaign stand out was his ability to connect with people on a personal level. He traveled across the country, meeting with everyday Americans, listening to their concerns, and sharing his vision for the future. He made people feel heard and understood, and that was a powerful message. People began to believe in him, not just as a politician, but as a leader who could bring real change. However, the road to the White House was not smooth. Barack faced many challenges, including the realities of being a black man running for president in a country that still struggled with racism. Some people questioned whether he was black enough, or whether he could truly represent all Americans. His critics tried to undermine him, and some even tried to play on racial fears to turn people against him. But Barack refused to let these attacks derail his campaign. He focused on the bigger picture and kept pushing forward. The turning point came when Barack won the Iowa caucuses in early 2008. It was a stunning victory that sent a message to the country. This campaign was real, and Barack Obama was a serious contender. His victory in Iowa helped him build momentum and gain even more support, especially among young voters and people who had never been engaged in politics before. As the campaign moved forward, Barack continued to inspire people with his message of hope and change. He called for a nation that worked together, one where people of all races, backgrounds, and beliefs could come together to solve the problems facing the country. His speeches were filled with optimism, but they were also grounded in the reality of the challenges ahead. Barack knew that change wouldn't come easily, but he believed that it was possible if people were willing to work together. By 2008, Barack Obama's campaign had grown into a powerful movement, and the race for the presidency had become more intense than ever. As he fought to secure the Democratic nomination, Barack faced tough challenges, not just from his opponents, but also from the many divisions that existed within the country. But throughout it all, Barack stayed focused on his message of unity, hope, and change. His biggest opponent for the Democratic nomination was Hillary Clinton, a former First Lady and a highly experienced politician. The competition was fierce, and both candidates campaigned tirelessly across the country. At times, the race became heated, But Barack never lost sight of the bigger picture. He knew that his goal was not just to win an election, but to inspire a movement that would bring people together and fight for a more just and equal society. Barack's ability to stay calm and focused in the face of adversity became one of his strongest traits. While others attacked and played dirty politics, he stuck to his principles. He believed that if he remained true to his vision, people would see his sincerity and the power of his message. And they did. Barack's speeches continued to inspire people, and his popularity grew, especially among younger voters who were hungry for change. But Barack's journey to the White House was far from easy. He faced fierce opposition from many sides. Some people criticized his lack of experience, while others questioned his ability to unite such a divided country. And, as the first black man to run for president, Barack also faced racism. Some people couldn't imagine a black man leading the country, and they tried to spread fear about what a president like Barack might mean for America. But Barack refused to let those voices define him. He knew that to overcome the challenges ahead, he would need to focus on the issues that mattered most to people, issues like healthcare, education, and the economy. One of the biggest moments of his campaign came during a speech he delivered in Philadelphia. In response to controversy surrounding his former pastor, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, Barack was faced with the difficult decision of addressing the situation head-on or ignoring it. He chose to speak honestly and openly. He talked about the painful realities of racism in America and how it had shaped his own life. But he also reminded the country that we could overcome our differences if we worked together. That speech was a defining moment in Barack's campaign. It showed that he was willing to speak the truth, no matter how difficult it was. It also proved that he was a leader who could address the complexities of race in America without avoiding the tough conversations. People across the country were moved by his honesty and courage. It was a moment that helped cement Barack's place as the leader who could bring change to the nation. As the Democratic National Convention approached in August 2008, Barack's path to the nomination became clearer. He had won enough support to secure the nomination and became the first black candidate to represent a major political party in the race for the White House. In November 2008, Barack Obama faced his biggest challenge yet, the presidential election against Senator John McCain. As the campaign moved forward, it became clear that the race was not just about choosing a leader. It was about choosing a vision for the future of America. Barack's message of unity, hope, and change continued to resonate with millions of people across the country. But his opponent, John McCain, had a strong following as well. The election was shaping up to be one of the most important and closely watched in American history. Throughout the campaign, Barack remained focused on the issues that mattered most to the American people. He talked about the need for affordable health care, job creation, and the end of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. He also spoke about the importance of equality for all people, regardless of their race, background, or beliefs. Barack's message was clear. America needed to move forward, and that could only happen if people of all walks of life worked together. As the election day approached, Barack's campaign continued to build momentum. His rallies were filled with excitement and energy, and people from all walks of life came to hear his message. Barack was not just speaking to one group of people, he was speaking to everyone, and his words inspired people of all races, ages, and backgrounds. He made people believe that they could be part of something bigger than themselves. Barack's journey to this point had not been easy. He had faced criticism, racism, and many obstacles along the way. But he never gave up. He believed in the power of hope and the ability of people to come together and create positive change. His campaign was a reflection of his belief in the American people. He trusted them to make the right choice. On November 4, 2008, after months of hard work, Barack Obama won the election. When the results came in, it was clear that America had chosen him to be the 44th President of the United States. Barack had not only made history as the first black president, but he had also shown that the American dream was still alive. His victory was a powerful message that no matter where you came from, what you looked like, or how difficult the road ahead seemed, anything was possible. The night of his victory, Barack spoke to his supporters in Chicago's Grant Park. He thanked them for their hard work and dedication, but he also reminded them that the real work was just beginning. "This is our moment. This is our time," he said. Barack's victory was not just about him. It was about the hope and dreams of millions of Americans who believed that change was possible. His words gave people the belief that, together, they could overcome the challenges facing their country and build a brighter future. As Barack Obama stood on that stage, looking out at the crowd, he knew that the journey to eradicating racism and inequality was far from over. But he also knew that his election was a symbol of the progress that had been made and a sign of the work that still lay ahead. For Barack Obama, the fight for justice, equality, and unity had only just begun. Barack Obama's victory in 2008 was just the beginning of his incredible journey as President of the United States. When he took office in January 2009, the country was facing many challenges: an economic crisis, 2 ongoing wars, and deep divisions between different groups of people. Despite these obstacles, Barack remained hopeful and determined to bring about change. One of his first challenges as president was addressing the economic crisis. The country was in a deep recession, and millions of people had lost their jobs and homes. Barack worked tirelessly to pass the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, a plan designed to boost the economy and create jobs. It was not an easy task, and many people criticized him for his decisions. But Barack believed in doing what was necessary to help the country recover. His leadership during this time helped stabilize the economy and set the stage for future growth. As president, Barack also focused on healthcare reform. He knew that millions of Americans lacked access to affordable healthcare, and he made it a priority to change that. After much debate and struggle, in 2010, Barack passed the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. This was one of his greatest achievements, as it expanded healthcare access to millions of Americans who had been left out of the system. It was a bold move, but Barack knew that it was the right thing to do, even if it wasn't popular with everyone. Barack's presidency was not just about policy, it was about the people. Throughout his time in office, he spoke about the importance of unity and understanding. He reminded the country that, while there would always be differences, the strength of America came from its diversity. He pushed for a more inclusive nation, one where all people, regardless of race or background, could come together to create a better future. Even when facing criticism, Barack remained calm and composed. He understood that leadership was not about pleasing everyone. It was about doing what was right for the people. He never allowed negativity or doubt to deter him from his vision. He believed that the only way to overcome the challenges of racism and inequality was to keep working toward a better, more just world. After 8 years in office, Barack Obama left the White House in 2017, but his legacy lived on. He had shown the world that anything was possible, no matter a person's background. His story became a symbol of hope, proving that through hard work, dedication, and belief in the power of unity, one person could make a difference. Since leaving office, Barack has continued his mission of inspiring others. Through the Obama Foundation, he works to empower the next generation of leaders, encouraging them to take action and create positive change in their communities. His life story reminds us that even in the face of adversity, we can rise above and build a world that is more fair, equal, and just for everyone. Barack Obama's journey is not just a personal triumph. It is a beacon of hope for people everywhere who believe in the power of perseverance, unity, and love.